Pray tell, what is your favorite food? Well, whatever it is, if you're Indonesian, there's a good chance that it constitutes the soul of our diet. Rice. There's even a proverb, you haven't had a meal if you didn't have rice. But why must it be rice? Why are Indonesians so obsessed with it? You may remember that your primary school teacher told you that rice is the staple food. Although it is true for most Indonesians today, the inhabitants of this diverse and extensive archipelago had not always had them. Say the word for rice in Javanese or Sundanese, and you will hear an astonishing similarity with the word for sago. Why? Because it is indeed a word derived from a tuber that is indigenous to this land. Ancient temples like Borobudur and Jago recorded that sago, alongside palm leaves, coconut, and palm sugar, were important staple food commodities in Nusantara. Once a profound part of diet, it is a possibility that you have never tried sago in your life. And not that you don't want to, you might be forced to. After the Republic was founded, President Sukarno, Indonesia's first president, launched a massive exercise to compile together recipes across the country by interviewing people in person, by mail or by phone. A staggering 1,600 recipes were documented and published into a cookbook titled Mustika Rasa. The book was a manifestation of Sukarno's vision of food sovereignty and forging national identity. It was an effort to showcase the abundance of Indonesian culinary heritage, to encourage the diversification of food, as well as to promote the consumption of local produce. Indonesia is the most diverse country in terms of ethnicity and the second most diverse in terms of biodiversity. This is reflected in how different our staple foods are, with Papuans having papeda, people in Nusa Tenggara having corn, and cassava made into rice form in Lampung. However, the New Order era had a different idea in mind. Severe inflation, weak agricultural productivity, and recurring rice shortages were evident after the fall of Sukarno. The country relied heavily on rice imports, while rapid population growth placed increasing pressure on food supplies. Rice prices were volatile and shortages could easily trigger social unrest. As a result, securing stable rice supplies became essential not only for food security but also for maintaining political control. Therefore, President Suharto, Indonesia's second president, placed food self-sufficiency at the forefront of his agenda, and rice became a measurement of the state's prosperity. Enter the Green Revolution, an agricultural intensification program by building irrigation systems, providing loans for farmers, distributing improved seed varieties, as well as aggressively promoting the use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. The government called the initiative BMAS, or Mass Guidance. Rice production exploded throughout the country, producing 25 to 29 million tons a year between 1984 and 1988. Rice self-sufficiency was achieved with imports virtually zero. Simultaneously, the government distributed the rice through an agency called the Bureau of Logistics or Bulog, controlling its supply and stock. The floor and ceiling price was also capped, ensuring price stability. In 1985, President Suharto received a gold medal from the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, dubbed from rice importer to self-sufficiency. This was hailed as one of the regime's best achievements. The combination of policies was popular since it was seen as benefiting both farmers and poor consumers. Needless to say, this makes more people eat rice. The story doesn't sound as sweet after 1988. Behind the success hides a time bomb, and it's located under the ground. Literally. The Green Revolution pushed farmers to grow crops 2 to 3 times a year, depleting soil nutrients that were then replaced with increasing amounts of synthetic fertilizers. Over time, these chemicals wiped out beneficial soil organisms. Farmers became more dependent on fertilizers even as their crop yields continued to decline. While farmers need more fertilizers, its access and subsidy are tainted with mishandling and corruption. This gives birth to another problem. Fraudulent fertilizers, which cost farmers 60 trillion rupiah or $3.5 billion in losses each year. Politicians after politicians campaign about this issue, yet their all-out commitment to solve it is yet to be seen. In recent years, food estate has emerged as one of the solutions to food security. Although popular today, this concept isn't really new. In 1955, the Dutch colonial government, which still controlled Papua, started the Kumbe rice project in Kumbe and Kurik in Merauke. Experts were involved, and modern techniques and tools were deployed to grow hectares upon hectares of rice. Although it managed to produce a limited amount of rice, the project was overall deemed unsuccessful due to unsuitable soil condition, complicated irrigation system, environmental problems, and high operational costs. However, this does not stop the Indonesian government from trying again. In 2010, President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono started an ambitious project called Merauke Integrated Food and Energy Estate, or MIFE. It aimed to convert 1.2 million hectares of land, causing massive deforestation. The project ended up in shambles and later abandoned. Another president took power, another failure repeated. In 2018, crop failures became the conclusion of yet another attempt to grow rice in Merauke. At present, the current government is still unrelenting to make food estate works in the area. Development is still underway, with results yet to be discovered. The consequences of these failures do not only affect the national budget, but most profoundly the people closest to it. In Merauke, these food estates weren't built on empty lands. They were set up at the home of the indigenous Marin Anim people. The forest is where they hunt, forage, fish, and cultivate food. These provide the community with a balanced diet, a knowledge inherited from generation to generation. The forest is part of their identity, culture, and spirituality. Marin Anim's complex relationship with the forest has now been replaced with monoculture plantations that dismantle their food system and eating habits, which lead to, ironically, food insecurity. Starvation, malnutrition, stunting, and infant deaths haunt the community. Sago is slowly getting abandoned, while rice, instant noodles, and ultra-processed foods are consumed just to survive. There is plenty of food around us that we consume without really us wanting to, consciously or not. It is particularly a strong case for indigenous communities across the nation who get displaced from their ancestral lands and forced to adopt a completely different diet in the name of modernization. This is what is called gastrocolonialism. It is a system based on traditional number-focused ideas of food security that ignores the social and cultural sides of food. This allows profit-driven corporations to exploit the system. This goes against the idea of food sovereignty, which supports communities' rights to control their own food systems through local and sustainable production. So perhaps the question is no longer why do we eat rice, but who decided that we must. What sits on our plates today is not just a matter of taste. It is the product of history, power, and policy. From sago to rice, we have slowly traded abundance for uniformity. Gastrocolonialism seeps into our habits until dependence feels natural. But it doesn't have to stay that way. If we want to, we have the power to reclaim our food culture. And it doesn't begin in grand policies. It begins with awareness, with choice, and with the simple act of asking, what do we really want to eat?